Look, here's what I want. I want Taco Bell to just finally put the quote marks up on their menu board. Beef. You know what I mean? Because we all know.
Yeah.
Beef burrito. The 5-layer beef burrito, please.
That's called truth in advertising.
Yeah,
right there, man. That needs to happen.
You got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Rock and Roll, the podcast. Featuring Dr. Nick Redbone, Tom Nelson, and me, Brock Johnson. I am on a roll already. Today's podcast brought to you in part by
Power Plant, car audio and accessories on Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, powerplantweb.com. Check them out.
And it's actually not brought to you in part by Power Plant. It's brought to you entirely by the fine friends.
They are
Power
one
Plant.
whole thing, not in parts.
In fact, you're holding a guitar today. What does this mean?
The Power Plant, they have car accessories and audio.
Nice.
Blaine's the boss, they're out there on Kimberly Road.
Yeah.
Got nothing
it
else.
Sounds like something. What song is that?
I don't know. That's a complete original.
You
melody
wrote that whole thing?
Yeah.
Melody and lyrics are mine.
He made it up right here.
100% mine. Why would you...
God.
I hope you have the amps of my life.
Oh my God! You finished it. You finished it.
Thanks.
So there's your new jingle. If everybody's digging that, I hope you're happy with that. That's for our buddy Blaine. Power Plant, Twin Falls. This is episode 24.
24.
Episode 24
Wow.
of Rock and Roll, the podcast.
You know, I'm going to turn us up for just a second. You guys continue.
Okay.
I'll turn us up for just a moment, but make sure you continue so I can see the computer.
Absolutely. Brock's getting up. Not only is he our announcer, but he's also our engineer.
That's right. And
is
so
fantastic.
24 in podcast, what would that be like? Is that like muffin paper?
What?
Is that what you get for a 24th podcast?
I think so.
like muffin paper.
Like the paper cupcake cup.
Yeah.
That's what you get for your 24th podcast. That's the gift. Coming up for the 25th episode, you know what we get? Stuff made of marble.
I can't wait.
I know. I'm hoping I get part of a countertop.
Ooh.
Brock, are you back?
Hey, I'm back.
Fantastic.
Hey.
There, now,
How are ya?
we look better now. I'm
Okay.
great. I'm
All
great.
right, man. Cool.
I'm great.
We're doing some filling. So this episode is about one of the most controversial, and looking back on it when I was doing the homework, dumbest periods of rock and roll, the PMRC, the porn rock hearings of the 1980s.
Is your microphone on?
I don't have an on-off switch on this microphone.
Mine's on.
Yeah, Tom looks good. I look good. You are really quiet.
Check.
Yeah.
No.
Unless you're right up to it like that.
Okay, well, I'll just eat the goddamn
Eat the microphone.
thing. All right, there we go.
We're going to keep all this in?
Yeah, every bit of it.
Great,
Every
great.
bit
This
of it.
is awesome stuff.
Yeah, this is what we do.
This is high quality. Well, this is what happens when you're running a big budget operation.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? If you'd like to add to our budget, we clearly need a table. We need a backdrop.
We're renting these walls.
Got to have this back by 5 tonight.
Yeah, sorry. So if you guys can help us out, that'd be great. The PMRC, the Parents Research Music Council, which is, and they had such an official name. Where do we start with this? I guess we have to start with the PMRC. They were a bunch of bored Washington housewives that had no goddamn business holding hearings on anything on the public dime. And yet, for some reason, it happened. And it was both sides of the aisle doing it. It was Republican leaders and their wives. It was Democrat leaders and their wives calling to task record labels and musicians for the content of their albums.
Now, and this might be a part of the conversation that you get to later, but at what point did it fall in the hands of the RIAA, the Recording Industry Association of America? Because they're in charge of crap now.
Exactly. Well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think at the beginning they were already stepping up to the plate to put out, explicit labels on certain albums. But then, the Washington wives come in and they want to take it up a few notches. So I think it was happening nearly at the same time.
Yeah, and it was. I want to say it was like Strom Thurmond's wife. So she was 900 years old.
Well, yeah, you had
Tipper Gore.
Yeah, Tipper Gore. You had Susan Baker, who was James Baker, the Treasury Secretary's wife.
Right.
You had Pam Hauer, and her husband was like a real estate mogul in the area.
Once again, with then, zero room to do anything.
Sally, is it Nevius or Nevius, something like that? And her old man was a Washington city councilman.
Okay, so once again, these people were these boring, and look, I'm not trying to be sexist about it, but really, ladies, you weren't elected to jack diddly shit. And yet they somehow got the national media and the powerful husbands behind them to back this effort to censor rock music. And they held public hearings and demanded that the industry answer their call.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Strom Thurmond. Now, wasn't his wife involved on some committee? And that's how some of this all came into play.
Maybe so.
Didn't Zappa bring her up in his?
He did
in his testimony.
In the one that was the most front of mind, and I think she was even the chairwoman of said group. It was Tipper Gore. It was Al Gore's, and of course Al Gore invented the internet and believes in man bear pig.
I thought it was Dan Quayle who invented the internet.
No, that was Al Gore. Al Gore invented the internet and man bear pig.
And global warming.
Dan Quayle invented Al Gore. That's what happened.
And can't spell potato.
Correct.
There's a history lesson right there, man.
Dan Quayle, he was our vice president, but he wasn't aware of it. So the stage is set. Now, it originally started, Tipper Gore's statement that she says she started this with was, she found her like 12-year-old daughter or 14-year-old daughter listening to the Purple Rain soundtrack, listening to the song Darling Nikki. Mm-hmm. Okay, Darling Nikki is a filthy song, but it was Prince, and it was the Purple Rain soundtrack.
Yeah.
And instead of listening to the music before letting her child listen to it, she turned her free, and suddenly she was aghast. My God, what's happening to the youth of America? We have to hold these musicians responsible for parenting our children.
Yeah, what is this, 1950?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And she said that that everyone in the business should be ashamed of themselves because they're pushing this violent, pornographic music on children, and that's the way they framed it. Now, there had been, and they had the Filthy 15, and I don't have the entire list in front of me, but there was Prince, Darling Nikki was number one, right on top of the list. Mm-hmm. We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister because it was violent. Sugar Walls by Sheena Easton because it was sexual.
And written by Prince under the pseudonym of Alexander Nevermind. I love that.
That's right. He made the list twice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who else was on? Judas Priest, I think, Eat You Alive, and that was for,
Twisted Sister was.
Yeah, I think it was for that was for violent imagery. Wasp made it.
Venom.
There was a whole list. Cyndi Lauper made it for She Bop because it was about masturbation.
And I like that song.
I like masturbation.
I like the subject matter too.
I like Cyndi Lauper and masturbation.
Oh,
geez. Do you think the microphones picked that up?
I don't know.
We can add it in.
Yeah, sure.
The audience is laughing. We have the audience here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
The Muppets are thick today.
Oh, God. There was so much hot Muppet on Muppet activity upstairs earlier.
She-bop. She-bop. Doesn't that sound like the song? It really does.
No,
not even close.
No. Thank you, though.
I'm sorry, Cindy.
So the stage was set, and so they called, the PMRC demanded that there be hearings. And who comes to represent rock and roll? Did Prince show up? No. Of course he didn't.
Yeah.
Did Sheena Easton? No. Did Cyndi Lauper? No. You know who did show up? One of the musicians on the Filthy 15, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, Frank Zappa, who we've touched on in this podcast many times because I didn't realize how important and how much he touched in the sphere of rock and roll. Or I just can't stop talking about him.
Well, he did it, and he did it in subtle ways. He wasn't like throwing it out there so everybody knew. So but you're right.
But he was involved.
Dabbled in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And John Denver. Now, the PMRC was excited that John Denver was going to testify because they thought that Denver would come in and take their side because he was so white bread, wholesome, middle America.
But he's an artist.
But he's
and
an
any
artist.
artist sees the ridiculousness in the conversation.
That's exactly it. When they showed up to testify, and you can find all of this on YouTube. None of this is made up. It was August of 1985. Frank Zappa cut his hair and showed up in a suit, ready to go. Are you getting up to adjust audio again? Yeah, go. Okay. So Zappa shows up ready to go mano a mano with any one of them. And the thing that I think that maybe they weren't aware of was the fact that not only did Frank write super duper weird music, but he was a genius. Frank
Very
was
smart man.
So smart and so articulate and understood the Constitution backwards and forwards. And I think he opened, might not be the opening line, but one of the lines was, "Ladies, how dare you?" I mean, he went off. Dee Snider showed up in jeans and a t-shirt and sunglasses and his hair all ratted out to here. And he pulled his statement out of his back pocket like a kid pulling out his homework. Like it was a notebook paper, like folded. So he's pulling it out and he's unfolding like 6 ways
I would expect
Sunday.
nothing less from Dee Snider.
Yeah.
Right.
But they all three absolutely spoke out against it was a First Amendment thing for them. And they were right. I mean, constitutionally, they were right. The warning labels, so the PMRC sort of won, but not really, in my opinion. Yes, they got the label on an album. If you see the parental advisory sticker on an album, that's because the PMRC and the RIAA got what they wanted.
Yeah.
The artists got what they wanted too, because the sales for those albums went through the goddamn roof.
Yep.
Tell people they can't have it, and they'll pay twice as much to get it.
It's prohibition, man. And that was, in the testimony, that was really what John Denver said. You know, you make it inaccessible, people are going to want it.
Yeah.
It's that simple, man.
Absolutely.
And there were some artists who, well, I mean, pretty much everybody thought it was ridiculous, but you look at guys like George Carlin, who has an album called Parental Advisory, Explicit Lyrics. You look at the front of the album, half of the case is the logo, and he's just making a mockery out of how stupid that was. It's not going to stop anybody from doing anything. When I was, growing up and not allowed to listen to the F word, I would find ways to get it, which meant when she found it, my mom, and threw it away, I would have to go buy it again. So instead of buying one, I bought 3.
And the artist thanked you for it.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. And Frank, when it finally went down, Zappa got, and I've mentioned this on an earlier podcast, to punish him somewhere along the line, the RIAA put an advisory sticker on his album, Jazz from Hell.
Yeah.
Which was an instrumental album.
Yeah.
Why?
There were no lyrics.
But how did they get away with that?
They did it because they could. They ramrodded it through. And you know what? That album won him his only Grammy.
Good for Mr. Zappa.
He won instrumental release or instrumental album or instrumental song of the year.
Justice.
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
Right.
And then
That's
he
great.
invented his own his own sticker that he put on the album like right after the hearings, and it said something like, the contents of this album guaranteed will not send you to hell. I mean, and it's this whole litany of things that he goes through. Frank was, if rock and roll had a middle finger, I gotta say, and it does clearly, I gotta say that Frank, there for at least a minute, he was the standard bearer of that.
Frank Zappa was the guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He might almost be worth his own podcast eventually. I mean, not that we ever stay on topic anyway.
Nah.
But it would be a great place to start.
In fact, we're
I know.
about done with the topic.
I know.
Wow.
By the way, have you noticed that Tom is the only one that pronounces things right?
Yes.
I want you to. Yeah. I think it's
All right.
I think it's because of the Iowa and the fact that you're the only one of us that has any college education.
And the fact that I'm full of gin.
Like and subscribe. Don't you? Where's your degree from? You have a bachelor's degree,
University
right?
of Iowa, yeah.
A bachelor's degree from the University of Iowa. Hey, where's your degree from?
School of Drugs.
Did you graduate from high school?
I did.
Okay, yeah.
But only because my boss made me.
Okay.
Like they offered me a full-time gig before I was out of high school.
Right.
And I said, well, to hell with it. If this is what I want to do, I'm just going to drop out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take your gig, and then I'll just do radio. And he said, you're going to take the job, but only if you let us work with you so that you can get your graduation.
Oh,
Yeah.
they were the bosses that cared.
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
No, I graduated.
It's a good company.
I graduated. I took freshman algebra 3 times. I failed it the first 2 times, and the third time, I cheated.
Yes.
You are pretty stupid, though.
I'm really stupid. If you listen to the intros here on this very podcast, Tom says accessories. It's accessories.
It's not accessories.
I say accessories. You say accessories.
Yeah.
You give the C the S sound. You give that C, which I believe is correct. I think that's grammatically correct.
I'm not sure if it's grammatically correct. I just have been saying it that way for forever, man.
I know, but it just feels like when you're the heavy hitter when it comes to actual. My daughter was listening to you and she said he actually sounds like a radio guy.
Gee, thanks. Right?
Yeah, but
you're like, hey, I'm right here.
I'm right here. So then I pushed her out of the car. It's fine. You know what though? All kidding aside, we were only going 40 miles an hour.
Kids are resilient.
Kids suck.
Yes.
You know which one drives me crazy?
One of your kids?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll let you guess which one. The word etc. It's etc.
etc.
But everybody says etc. because the abbreviation is ECT. It's not etc. It's etc.
Yeah. etc.
Let's extend this a little bit. It's supposedly, not supposedly.
Where did the B come from?
Unless you're drunk.
Where in the hell did the B come from?
Yeah, I hear it all the time.
Oh, yeah, smart people.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
I'll have another scotch.
You sound like an idiot. Stop that. There's no B in that word.
Yeah.
At least with etc., I understand where it comes from.
Well, it's
supposedly,
right? Yeah.
There was somebody who worked here and I'm not going to say who. He's not here anymore, but he said supposedly, and he sounded so stupid. Of course, he sounded stupid most of the time too.
Is he still in the market?
Yeah.
Somebody I know?
Yeah.
Well, say his goddamn name. Who cares? What is he? Could he beat me up?
No.
Well, then say it. No. All right. Fine.
Not going to do that.
Gonna take the fifth on that one.
Will you tell me later?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you know what? Don't tell me his name. Just spell it to me. That would have been great if you fell for that. God,
if you think about it, there's only one who used to work here who is still in the market.
And still in the market. Okay. I'll have to think about that because remember, if I don't work with him, I don't give a shit.
You did work with him.
Wow.
Drove you nuts.
Did I appear to give a shit then? Boop, boop, boop. Oh, God. Okay.
Oh, he just came to you, right?
Oh, God. Well, I'll leave you to it.
Yeah.
Brock is like,
Jeez.
Okay, well,
he was terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as we're doing, he was the worst. As long as we're doing that, you didn't seen anybody do anything. You saw them do something.
See, I screw that one up sometimes.
Very rarely. Nope. I don't know that I've ever heard you say that because I'd call you on it.
See, I try to be grammatically correct, and when I'm sending a message, unless I'm illegally texting and driving, I'm trying to use correct capitalization and punctuation.
Right.
Because I don't want to look like an idiot. Some people are like, lowercase, no spell words, 5.
I understand. So, okay, but you don't use seen in place of saw. You really don't. I'm very proud of you for that fact. You know who else is proud of you?
I seen a Muppet upstairs.
The power plant on Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. They're not the power plant. I keep saying that because I'm an idiot asshole.
Power plant, car, and audio accessories. On Kimberly Road in Twin Falls and online at powerplantweb.com.
That's it. It's the Blainiest.
It really is the Blaine.
It is a really Blaney power
You know what I
plant.
heard about Blaine? He always smells a little bit like green apple Jolly Rancher's taste.
Is
Is there anything more pleasant than that?
Does he dig the green apple Jolly Rancher?
I don't know. I'm just making this up.
Oh, it's just...
Look,
I love green apple.
Look, here. Psst, psst. Don't mind us. We're going to take it a little aside.
Yeah, go ahead.
Look. Anytime I can say something about Blaine, whether it's real or not, if it's good, just agree with it, okay?
Okay.
And you guys can add to it, you know what I mean? Because he's the sponsor. He's like the one sponsor we have.
You want to just try this again?
Yeah, let's try this again. I'm going to do a different one this time.
Guys.
Yeah.
Am I wearing pants?
What?
Am I wearing
now you
pants?
are.
Yeah, you're wearing pants.
Okay, good. Thanks.
There you go. Good. You know what I heard?
Hey.
I heard Blaine from Power Plant invented Pop Rocks.
I love Pop Rocks, and thank Blaine for that each and every time I enjoy a delicious package of pink Pop Rocks. Available now and brought to you by Blaine.
Thanks, Blaine. Power Plant. Kimberly Road. PowerPlantWeb.com.
Powerplantweb.com.
You know what you guys missed? Because I'm sitting where I am, and right around the corner, I saw our boss's face. He peeked around for just a minute. It was fantastic.
I heard somebody coming down
You know what
the
I mean?
stairs.
Like oh my God, and one of his shoes too.
Nice shoes. You know it's Kim. He's got nice shoes on.
Our boss is the best dressed man in radio. Seriously, our boss dresses like the nature boy Ric Flair. That's the best compliment I can give. Remember, everything I know is fed through the cultural filter of pro wrestling or rock and roll. Past that, I'm a halfwit. I don't know anything. Like and subscribe. Now, there were watch this. You ready?
Ready.
There were other controversies around the PMRC hearings that dragged people back into court again. Mm-hmm. Rock and roll and heavy metal in particular became a target of overzealous prosecutors and the Baptists. You can't trust the Baptists as far as you can throw them.
And this, how did that come about?
Okay.
How did that tie into the conversation with the
PMRC?
The PMRC and the RIAA.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Baptists early on, and this was in the 70s, and I shouldn't say all Baptists, but I'm saying it was a Baptist church, started playing Stairway to Heaven backwards because the kids love Stairway to Heaven so much. How can the kids love Stairway to Heaven more than they love Amazing Grace? The devil must be involved. So they played it backwards over and over and over and over and over until some deranged don't dance, we're going to shake snakes pastor decided he heard Here's to My Sweet Satan buried somewhere in the song, which of course, as we know as audio guys, is bullshit. Yes, you can backward mask, but we'd have to do it digitally. Back then, the trickery it would have taken in the studio to get that done.
Yeah.
For the biggest band in the world at the time to put something in that nobody's going to hear. Come on.
Yeah. And who, when did this come about? How did this come about? Did somebody just, hey man, let's see if we can play this backwards and see if we hear some satanic stuff.
Exactly.
And the amount of time that it would take to go through all of these albums.
They were looking for something.
Yeah.
Yep. They had to come up with something.
And then, of course, Ozzy Osbourne had the song "Suicide Solution," which was about alcohol. It was actually about alcoholism, but somebody said that I guess it was in an echo or behind a guitar solo or something that he said that you can hear the voice say, "Get the gun, shoot, shoot, shoot."
Yeah.
Which I think turned out to be like a reverb, like it was an echo or something.
Isn't it normally? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and then Judas Priest got it too. On the Stained Class album, they were accused of a couple of kids tragically killed themselves. Kids with mental problems anyway, and their parents said that they'd been listening to Judas Priest, and Rob Halford actually had to sing on the stand in court so that they could to see if he had digitally manipulated it in the studio versus just singing it raw, which of course was once again proven to be bullshit.
I bet that was one of his most hated and favorite moments in life, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, how ridiculous.
And think about what this does. You tell a heavy metal fan they might try and take your band away. These guys are so badass that the government and the courts want to bring them down.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to go buy their entire discography.
Yep.
That might be where some of today's rock and roll badassery came from. The fact that rock and roll stood up and said, no.
Yep, absolutely. That was the great thing. Yeah, you can put a sticker on our record. You're not going to change what we say, not going to change it at all. And they absolutely did stand up as a unified front from John Denver to Wasp and raised their middle finger and said, we say no.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no.
You just got real old, man.
It was the Japanese that bombed Pearl Harbor.
That was a line from Animal House.
Like and subscribe.
The movie.
How you guys?
Animal House. No, it's not like and subscribe the movie. Now that's a great. There you go. Like and subscribe the movie. Yes, winner, chicken dinner.
In theaters this spring.
Oh, God. Are you okay? Oh, it's going down. Brock, help him.
I'm telling you, I'm stroking out. I think I just lost all of third grade.
And not the good kind.
Oh, God. We really destroyed this podcast.
Like and subscribe the movie. Featuring Gary Busey and Steve Buscemi.
And they have an ugly off. Imagine the movie Face Off, but it's Gary Busey and Steve Buscemi. They have to trade faces, but both of them are pissed about it. Oh, by the way, speaking of stuff that we hate, guess what?
What?
They released the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations today.
I saw that.
Yep.
Now,
And then I had the very conversation in my living room with my wife this morning that we've had before. How, it's cool, but really,
Yeah.
you got to pay to play.
Yeah.
Is it really that big of a deal?
Right. And the thing is, some of the names that are finally there, Tina Turner, who I think absolutely deserves to go in, if nothing else, for putting up with Ike. Let's see, who else? Jay-Z. And I realize that they've kind of let hip hop in. And look, if you're going to get somebody,
but Jay-Z's a rock star.
Jay-Z,
I give it to Jay-Z.
Yeah, Jay-Z. I mean, he went from literally being a drug dealer, that he's admitted
Listen to his
to
New
being.
That's what that whole song's about.
I think he's the owner of Island Records.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a billionaire. Congratulations, well played.
I think it's Def Jam, isn't it?
Def Jam, you're right.
Goo Goo Dolls, aren't they in?
No. Maybe Goo Goo Dolls. I know that the Foo Fighters are in.
Foo Fighters
or
are
at
in.
least could go in.
There's another hip hopper too. There's another prominent hip hopper.
Yeah.
Like LL Cool J or something.
That's right, LL Cool J. The Go-Go's, who I am going hard for. The Go-Go's have to go in for it to matter. Iron Maiden.
Devo.
These are
Iron
Devo.
Maiden.
These are nominations.
Nominations.
We don't know who's
Right.
actually inducted yet.
Look, here's how you know who. Oh, Carole King was another one. Here's how you know who's going to go in. Pick the people who deserve it the least. Like and subscribe.
New York.
The New York Dolls. Speaking of it, the New York Dolls were nominated as well. I would love to see, and I think they take 5. I'd say Tina Turner, Jay-Z, Iron Maiden, the Go-Go's, and New York Dolls. If I had to pick, that'd be my 5.
Now, the conversation this morning in my house took an interesting direction because, I'm trying to tell my wife, well, it's not that big of a deal. You got to pay to be there. You got to pay to be part of the induction.
Yeah, the whole thing.
She said, yeah, but it's almost like the star on the Walk of the Hollywood, the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She says, yeah, you got to pay for the star if you get a star, but you can't just go up and ask for a star.
Sure,
somebody has to pick you, and then yes, you have to pay, which is the business end of it. But it's still an exclusive little club.
Yeah, for me though, it's the validity of the decision making.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
the fact
bullshit.
Yeah. The fact that the Go-Go's, I use the Go-Go's as the standard. The first girl group to have a #1 Billboard 200 hit, and they're still not in. And they were one of the core acts of 80s pop radio and MTV when it still mattered.
Huge on MTV.
And they're still not in. And Belinda Carlisle's career afterwards. I mean, she had hits too. It's horse shit. The fact that they've had to wait so long, and the fact that once again Iron Maiden carrying the standard for metal for 40 years still isn't in. When Metallica went in ahead of them.
Yeah, the fact that and Metallica deserves their place.
For sure, no question.
But Iron Maiden should have got it first.
Yeah. Because they're still in a pre-COVID and probably post-COVID world, still playing in front of crowds of 100,000 people in open airs, and drawing every one of them there. So anyway, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And they own their plane.
Yes, they do. Ed Force One.
And Bruce Dickinson drives it, right?
And he's the pilot.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. That's why Iron Maiden will always be coolest.
Yes.
We've really smeared we keep wiping at this podcast, but there's still something on the paper. This one's really been awful.
I think it's been fun.
I think it's been fun. It's been good. It's been fun, but it's been.
Yeah, I think the looser they become, the better they are.
Yeah. Hey, that's what she said.
Are we done? Why don't you play the jingle one more time? Sing us out.
Like and subscribe. The movie.
You know what? We're gonna go.
Ooh, it's a sad jingle now.
And that's when Power Plant dropped us like a hot potato because we suck. Make sure to go visit the Power Plant, just Power Plant, on Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. And that has been, I think, Rock and Roll the podcast. We've had a lot of fun. We hope you've had a lot of fun. We'll end on a G chord. My name's Dr. Nick Redbone. That's Brock Johnson. That's Tom Nelson. Peace, love, and rock and roll. Tip your waitress. We're out of here.